poverty. And to shed more light on this topic, we are delighted to have with us over the phone Dr. Amr Hamed. He is an economic expert. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for joining us today on Nile TV International. I would like to start first by asking you about the main objectives of the new national narrative for economic development recently launched by Egypt.
The national narrative for economic development launched in September 2025 is more like I wouldn't say a dream, but more like a vision for the country, for the economy as a whole. It's a strategic framework to push Egypt towards higher productivity, export-oriented growth, and to try to achieve 7% annual GDP growth by 2030.
Yes.
And it seeks to consolidate macro-financial stability and to expand the private sector, of course. I mean the role of the private sector, and to prioritize productive and tradable sectors and create jobs, strengthen competitiveness, and accelerate the green, what we call the green transition and resilience. This is more or less an idea about the concept in general.
Yes. Dr. Amr, how does this new narrative differ from the previous ones implemented by the government?
Okay, let's always remember that we're speaking here about a vision, so it's something to come in the future, and we hope that we're going to reach it one day. But to answer your question, unlike prior packages that focused heavily on macro stabilization, subsidy rationalization, and more focused IMF conditionality, the new national narrative bundles stabilization with an explicit pivot to what I might call the structural economic change, and with stronger emphasis on the private sector-led tradable and high productivity sectors, greener investment platforms, and government alignment towards the famous Vision 2030 of the Egyptian government, rather than single program fixes. It also represents reforms as a long-term development narrative, if you want to say, like growth, jobs, resilience, etc.
Yeah. And how significant is Egypt's cooperation this time with multilateral development banks like the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development for achieving sustainable growth?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say it's very significant, of course. If we succeed in achieving this, it becomes very important. So this is more or less the idea. I would say it's because the EBRD, the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, is a multilateral partner with Egypt that provides patient, blended, and risk-sharing finance, technical advice, and credibility that unlocks the private capital. Also, the World Bank, because the EBRD belongs to the World Bank, so the EBRD packages in Egypt sustainability-linked loans to banks, export finance and project equity, and so on, women-led SMEs and green projects, all vital for sustainable, inclusive growth, of course. And what is more important for me, especially not only with the International Bank, but also with the IMF, is that even if our financial economic relation with both these multinational organizations, even if it's limited, it still reflects positively on the attraction of FDI, the foreign direct investments, because the foreign investors, they always look at the relationship between the country and these important organizations in their decision-making process, whether to invest in this country or not.
Yes. Dr. Amr, what are the specific steps to be taken to enable the private sector to drive growth?
I can give you some examples documented in government partner coverage. That would include, for example, blended finance and sustainability-linked facilities through local banks to expand private lending, regulatory streamlining and promotion of purchasing power and concessions, targeted support for exporting SMEs like the credit lines, the export guarantees, etc. And these represent incentives for green and productive investments via platforms that mobilize the concessional finance and capacity building and digitalization support, if you want.
Yes, Dr. Amr, how does the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development financing help the small and medium-sized enterprises, the SMEs, and startups in Egypt?
Another profound question, of course. The EBRD, the International Bank, European Bank, it provides direct and indirect instruments like credit lines to local banks, to on lend to SMEs and exportors, sustainability-linked loans that I would say that would create an incentive to inclusive lending, equity and early stage financing especially for startups, plus non-financial support, of course, like business advice, mentoring, marketing linkages, etc. This combination increases access to finance, improves governance and what I call the scalability, and opens export and regional market opportunities.
Yeah. How do such international collaborations, Dr. Amr, enhance Egypt's position as a regional hub for investment and trade? I think here we can sort of shed the light on, if you like, support like low carbon hydrogen pathways in Egypt, and which has financed early green hydrogen projects, etc. But if you like, also we can here shed the light on the partnerships with the EBRD, the EU, the European Unity, the World Bank, and others, which increase Egypt's credibility and provide project-level finance that I would say that would catalyze private money, transfer technical know-how, and help build cross-border value chains, especially in the energy exports and logistics, and this will improve investor confidence. And again, here we have to, because the key word here is confidence in the economy, and this is what we are lacking and what we should target as, if I may say, a growing economy. And confidence will make Egypt a more attractive destination for regional headquarters and trade-oriented investment, and deepens ties that facilitate market access across not only the Middle East, but also Africa and Egypt as a hub for the economic and commercial relations hub between Europe, Africa, and Asia as well. Yeah, and how can Egypt maintain the balance between stability, social equity, and rapid economic transformation?
Yeah, that's another good question. From a practical standpoint, we are targeting what I might call, if you want, a policy mix. And when I say policy mix, I mean maintain macro stability and targeted social protection, of course, like cash transfers, food subsidy targeting, etc. In order to, of course, the main objective here is to protect the vulnerable households during reforms, and phase reforms and use compensatory measures for short-term shocks. I might add here also invest in public resources in job-creating sectors, skills, health, and affordable housing in order to be able to spread the benefits, and use blended finance to crowd in private capital while protecting strategic sectors. And last but not least, strengthen the concept of governance and transparency and monitoring to ensure reforms delivery inclusive outcomes.
Yes.
The narrative itself, though, let me remind you, we're still speaking about a vision itself. It emphasizes aligning stabilization with jobs, with resilience and equity. But
Yes.
success, at the end of the day, depends on implementation and sequencing and credible social safety measures.
Yeah. Yes, Dr. Amr Hamed, the professor of economics, thank you very much for joining us today in Cairo local time. Ladies and gentlemen, short break and we'll be back.